All right, welcome everybody. Nice to see you. Dr. Mary Rensel here. Let's go. So, how are we going to take control of your distractions? Our distractions. There's so many, right? Oh my gosh, never-ending distractions. Let's go. We're going to get started. Well, the amazing news, and I'll show you this book where I learned this. It's called The Myths of Unhappiness. No, The Myths of Happiness. The Myths of Happiness by Dr. Sonia Lubomirsky. We had her speak at Cleveland Clinic one time. She's an amazing speaker, a really interesting researcher. She's a happiness researcher. Who would have thought? But she shared that, when we're distracted, we're unhappy, which is very interesting because who knew, right? Um, so when we are not focused on what's important to us, and when we just let anyone into our systems and grab our attention, we don't feel happy. And I can attest to that when I'm on my phone or scrolling on my phone. It's a feeling, it's a very like numb emotional feeling. It's not a good feeling. So she states that nearly all of us buy into the myths of happiness. So let's dive in here. So what's happening today? So this is for busy professional women. Today's the day to learn long-lasting solutions. We're here to learn, right? There's nothing really wrong. It's just like, why not grab onto that research and create some new simple strategies? Don't take long, but really have great impact in our lives, right? You're rock stars. You're doing amazing things in your community, but you're tired. You feel like toast some days, right? So life is busy. There's a lot of distractions. There's a lot going on. So we want to make sure that we put in our lives, in our days, what really matter to us, right? So this is for busy women that want to help others. They want to feel creative. You want to feel appreciated, valued. You want to grow. You're just not sure where to do that or where's a safe place for that. Growing is and learning is full of emotions. So I don't like to do and admit we don't know everything in front of everybody. Generally, professional women, we're, the bosses, the leaders, the team leads, and so we don't want to admit, that we might need to learn something, and that's okay. It's that vulnerability that is learning that takes a safe place to really bring that forward and to support learning. And we want to have impact in our communities, right? We don't want all of this to go on and on without some reason that we do all this hard work, right? So here's what we're going to learn. The 10 challenges that face women day to day when we're trying to align with our values, our purpose, and our unique strengths. So everybody has, a basket full of unique strengths. And if we all lived at our highest level of our unique strengths, we really would be able to support our communities, solve problems, build businesses, work in a business, whatever is your preferred thing to do throughout the day, have a nonprofit, whatever is your thing. So I like to share a clear path because I kept kind of coming up for air every once in a while, like, how do you do it? How does a person do this? I'm a mom of four, I'm a doctor. I like to be involved in my community and I like to have friendships. And so how do you do it all, right? So I built a framework. I took all the tools that really helped me, and I built a framework to help me navigate a busy career, an intentional, consciously intentional career. So that everybody doesn't have to go and go through all the research like I like to. It's just something I like to do. So I like to find clear survival strategies, but also things to help us find joy and meaning and purpose and feel like we matter in our communities, right? So this is an image from just a concept of when we're learning about culture. So it's called Shine's Levels of Organizational Culture. So this wasn't something I knew a lot about. So I was diving into culture because I heard that indeed, culture matters, our environment matters. So this model suggests, what culture may be like for you. It helped me understand culture. So if we think of just, if this tip of the iceberg, the white is something that we see. So I work in healthcare. So when we're in healthcare, you walk into a hospital building and oh yeah, this is healthcare. So those artifacts and behaviors, and maybe people have white coats on or scrubs, and you're in a healthcare environment. And there's norms and values that go along with that, right? But then the deepest level is something that I think that we're here to kind of dig into a little bit is what are those deepest assumptions or beliefs about the cultures or the things that really aren't said or they're just assumed in a culture? So that helped me understand like I'm in healthcare. What is in the culture? What's your culture? Do you want to put it in the chat? Welcome, welcome everybody. If you want to put it in the chat, what your, the area that you work in day to day. I work in healthcare. I'm a physician. So that's the norm that I know and the values I know and the assumptions. Yeah. Oh, Sapna, hey, how are you? Oh my gosh. It's just you and me, I think. Oh, yeah. I hope you're all right. You hanging in? I hope. Yeah, a little, kind of. I'm recording, so we could talk after if you want. I just want to make sure you're okay. Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm praying for you. Um, all right, so we'll go. So the culture. So culture is like this pond, right? So I think of it like the dirty water of a pond, that there's nutrients in there, but we're the beautiful, Sapna, don't forget it. We're the beautiful lotus flowers blooming and, using all the things that we're soaking up to be our best person. Yes, yes, double exclamation. So yeah, don't forget it. If you're having one of those days, just remember you're a beautiful lotus flower, right? And we soak up all this information from our culture. So we have to know even the good and the bad, we soak that information up, right? So we want to make sure we're just taking the nutrients, the things that help us grow and gaining insights in what else is there in the culture. So in medicine, just as a women doc, I will choose my area, which is neurology. This is from 2019, a survey. So these are from some amazing women docs in neurology who did this survey. 42% of the people at that time, so this was before COVID, were saying they're burned out. They don't have, more than half didn't have time to even do their work, to do all the documentation. Their environments were high stress. They didn't really feel control. And they saw a lot of gender discrimination. But yeah, women docs do great work, right? So we have great high outcomes from our patients. There's even studies looking at female surgeons, female ICU docs, really high outcomes, really positive outcomes where people were living longer in the ICU with female docs. So female docs, because of our gifts, we do really great work, even in this environment, in this culture of the muddy water, the things that we can take, the positive things we've taken, and we're doing great work. So, do you remember that day when we were early in our jobs and you just felt that joy going to work? Um, and now some days we just go to work like thinking like, how do we get by today? You look around for opportunities for something new, something different, and just see all those inequities and you hoped for more. Unfortunately, that is the culture that a lot of folks are in right now. And work can be exhausting, right? It carries a risk of burnout and suicide. I don't need to tell you that. I was just at Brave Enough meeting a couple weeks ago, and there was a woman doc there whose sister had completed suicide. And gosh, I mean, it's just really, and just hearing about her kids now, it's just, well, it's just really take a deep breath. It's a lot to think about that I worked really hard to get into medical school, get through medical school. I'm there to help the patients to make it a better place for them. But yet that job also carries a risk of burnout and a higher suicide risk and completed suicide for women docs. But we need to work and support our families and we want to leave an impact in our community. So how can we balance all of this out? Well, some docs have decided, to get another job and start a side hustle like me. A lot of people are trying to find their own way. I really found this book very interesting and very sobering. This is a book written by some lawyers that shared some legal cases showing that women are no longer advancing. Why? They're explaining why by the perception of the law, why women are no longer advancing. There were years women were advancing in the workplace, but it's kind of hitting just hitting a standstill, and the gender wage gap is just stalled. The things are just stalled, and they have a lot of reasons why that is. They say women are kind of stuck in this middle manager position. It's very hard to get out of that. Um, and we're kind of following along the decades, and now it's just stuck. So burnout, do you know the year burnout was first reported? And were you even alive? Ready? 74. I won't make you work hard. I know you have a lot going on. 74. My gosh, I wasn't even 10 yet. So I was alive, but I wasn't 10. So it's overwhelming, right? It's confusing. There's no time for family or friends, and it's hard to be confident on what our focus is because we're in this culture with high risks, and it's hard to set our priorities, and sometimes it feels like we're floundering. So again, there we are, those beautiful lotus flowers in the mud, and in the pond. But also work helps us feel important and useful in our communities. It can have positive influences in the brain connections and strengthening our executive cortex because we have work challenges, we have intellectual challenges at work. It can also have negative consequences on the brain if there's chronic stress. But we definitely need to give the brain more support when we want to learn or make a change, right? And so when we're making a change, a lot of times then we sleep less or eat less or talk to less people because we're busy making a change. But actually, that's the time we have to give ourselves more. And we also can drive our own professional growth. Like we're not done with residency or med school. We can keep growing. So my goal for you is to feel less stuck, confused, disorganized, frustrated in the workplace, and instead feel empowered, creative, informed, enthusiastic, brave, courageous, and valued. I value you. Um, we ought to be able to build a beautiful life and have meaningful work. It should be an and, not an or. But sometimes it's intimidating or embarrassing to have to set up complicated well-being plans to avoid burnout and high suicide risk. So this is me, you know me. I'm the creator of Brain Fresh. Who wants to hear the 10 challenges so that you can feel empowered and creative and be that beautiful lotus flower? Well, the main themes are like what we've discussed, gender inequities. And the other thing we haven't discussed is as docs, we get frustrated by all the directives of the business administrators in our clinics and things that we have to see more and do more, but we ourselves don't have any business training. And so that's frustrating because they use certain words and things that we can't have any good retorts because we're not really business trained. And so that's a frustration, but that's something we can do about because we are learners, lifelong learners. And then that whole balancing act, is there a balance between work and home or personal and work? Is there? And then those cultural factors like we had talked about. So here's the 10 challenges, at least 10 of them, that we feel day to day in healthcare, and most professional women are also feeling similarly. There's gender disparities and opportunities, like that legal book had shared. We don't have business training at all. I've had zero business training in medical school or residency. I have tapped into some, but I didn't get any if I didn't do it myself. There's time constraints. There's things we have to do and be in clinic at so long or be in the OR. And then there's things at home, and women tend to do more at home, and the financial challenges keep us feeling stuck or locked up. It's hard to have time to have a mentor. It's hard to find a mentor. It takes time and energy to find a mentor if you're trying to build a business or just manage life. Like I said, I used to come up for air once in a while and be like, how do you do it? How do you do it? And get a few pearls from some of the other women docs around me, but I didn't really have a lot of time to have regular meetings with them or put anything into place. And I saw a lot of waiting, or I waited a lot to be chosen at work to get a leadership position. I interviewed, I tried, and I got some of them. I didn't get all of them. But that is letting someone else decide what my future looks like, and I don't like that. I like to be the driver. And I just want to remind people that we can be the driver and we can, figure out our goals and just keep on working on them. And gender inequities and innovation is a big one. I worked in an innovation space and I saw so many male men, it's all men in suits, very few women in that area. And I think women are very creative and solve a lot of problems all day long. And that we could be there. We just need some help just navigating that space as well. And then culture, there's so many messages I feel like are just misinformation, just like that book suggests, is that there's a lot of myths to happiness. And we bought into some of them that we have to work really hard until we retire. We'll have fun later. We can do what we want later. But what about now? And then societal expectations, women are taught to be quiet and behave and don't make too much noise and don't be out of the ordinary. So those are the societal expectations, some of that culture that we see in that brown water that make us what it is. So the 9 steps framework is what I built so that I could make sense of this world and feel vital and feel like I was growing. So I want you to also feel like you could rock it, you could live it, and you can own it. And you could feel empowered and creative, and you can, be your own beautiful lotus flower. And what matters. So let's just talk about a few of them. So finding fun is really important because in a neuroscience sense, that is what gives us joy. And it's a good neuroscience state for us because there's no judgment. We're with other people. I'm sure you have fun with your little guys, your little ones. What's the last thing you did to have fun? We could put it in the chat. What did I do? Well, I was with my neighbor kids and they were showing me a snake they found. They were trying to feed it to the hawk. That was hilarious. I laid low this weekend. Nothing big. I was in Maine last weekend with my brothers. That was fun. Anything fun going on for you lately? Maybe not a lot of that, huh?
It's swimming
Swimming. Oh, cute. Can you swim outside still? Is it inside?
inside.
Inside, yeah. It's cold. Yeah. Yeah, and that matters. And protecting your melon, you've heard this before from me, but that is, just blocking out distractions and thinking of that organ between our ears and what can we do to keep it sharp and keep it well so we can support our families and support our community and support ourselves and not get burned out and just not have any reserve. I personally like to first start with just blocking out distractions because that book reminds us that that's, I feel like a simple thing that's doable is just learn what to say no to and think of just closing windows and doors. I don't leave my whole house open. I don't leave every window and door open for anyone to come in when they want. And sometimes our attention is like that, right? People can just come in when they want and seems like, they could just quote unquote, bother us or get our attention whenever they want. And we have to be the ones setting the boundaries so that we can protect that organ between our ears because it is not, limitless. It needs to also have time to recharge and to focus on things that matter to it, right? Matter to us. The other thing is fine tuning our energy. So throughout the day, taking little breaks, they're micro breaks that we just slow down, take a deep breath, relax our shoulders, relax our jaws, just take a minute to kind of recharge. Because typically our days are go, go, go. And if we're only going, we need to also have time to kind of fill those tanks. We can do that emotionally. We also do that emotionally by a conversation, by a good friend, by a renewing conversation that works. Looking at pictures of people we love works. Just remembering somebody that's been helpful in your life, a teacher, a friend, a mentor, that works. So there are ways to take quick pauses throughout our day to kind of renew ourselves and emotionally and energy wise, because that will help our focus. It'll help our problem solving. And then guardrails, like again, we can't do everything. We want to align with what's important to us. We want to work in our strengths. There's no sense in working in things that are not our strengths. And also we want to make sure we keep people around us that are very supportive. And we're going to focus mostly on these six, and these are the other ones. But let's say now, like, which one are you a green light? Which one do you keep a priority out of these? That's a for sure green light for you. So green is like, no problem. I do this regularly. I got this. Like, this is part of my usual. What would you say is a green light for you? I personally have made finding fun more of a green light each week. Just make it like I have to have something fun every week with my husband. We just like every week we need to do something. It's not always with him, but it's just something fun each week with a friend or something. I don't leave it to chance because it's really important. It really does change how I feel throughout the week. So that's important. And the protecting my melon, the distraction thing I've been working on, closing, setting those boundaries so I do have time to focus and do what's important to me. What do you think? Yes? Oh, good. I love it. Yeah, we match like that, huh? Protect your melon and find fun. Double. Okay. Well, I guess we could go back. Like, which one's a red? Which one's hard to do or is just not on your radar right now, or you're not really doing much of it now? What's a red for you? It's a red for me. Um, the courage. I think the courage for me is like taking action. Might be uncomfortable because it's new. That's the courage. I'm doing more of that. I just set my goals for 2025 and I'm doing the 12-week year and I'm just mapping out my weeks because I just want to be really intentional about the actions that are going to lead back to my goals, which lead back to my vision. So to have just that a feedback loop. So I'm only doing what's important to me. Any reds for you? Oh, go on. All right. So why do all these things matter? Well, the first three, the yellow, the goldish color, are because, we can have these days where we're busy, we're stuck, but we want focus and we want to feel in control. We want to change this negative feeling like we don't have control to the positive feeling. Because when we're in positive emotions, we have an open mind, we have more expansive mind, so we can see solutions better. So there's a lot of power to fun. And so it's not just frivolous, right? It's not icing on the cake, it's the cake. So it's really important that we put these things into our lives. Same thing with protecting our melon, that we protect our energy, we protect our focus, and that we want to decrease our risk of burnout, right? Burnout's really dangerous, as we saw and we talked about already, and just in this master class, is like women docs have a higher risk of suicide. Like this is not like a mild headache or something. Like this is serious stuff, right? And so we have to be really careful that we're putting energy where it needs to go and to what's important, because we're in a space in our jobs that our lives could potentially be at risk. So we have to be really careful. And then the other thing is fine tuning the energy throughout the day, taking those 3 pauses, even if there are seconds or minutes. I mean, the suggestion by Dr. Boyatzis, who wrote this book, Resonant Leader, that I have on the slide, he suggests 10 to 15 minutes 3 times a day of a break, because we cannot have magical thinking, right? We cannot think that we can only go, go, go and do good work and be there for others and feel well and be healthy. We have to take these breaks. We have this oscillation between work and rest, work and home. We have to oscillate between these things. We're not only go, right? So we want to put more of these things in the green zone. A lot of them are in red or yellowish. So which one's your favorite? Do you like to think about priming the brain, like get it ready for change? Do you like aligning with your strengths and your team, or do you like designing, like taking action? What's your favorite? Which was your favorite one to be that beautiful lotus flower? And I guess I would just argue that we need them all, but I have a bias toward action. So I tend to be in the design like action phase, where really the literature suggests I need to slow down, make sure I take care of myself with it, which is the prime, to fortify. Prime is like the fortifying time. Align is to know ourselves, so we know what our strengths are and put people around us to help us live in them. And then design is the action stage. All right. You have a favorite one? So we've have some new insight into culture, just like that big glacier, what's under the sea, we have these assumptions and beliefs about things, and we need to know, like, what are our assumptions and beliefs and what are we believing? Is it a fact? So we need to make sure that we kind of check in with those assumptions and see how much of it is a fact. And brain wonder can really guide us as we work in a very high risk profession. There are challenges, no question. I'll tell you, most of our colleagues are in emotional distress and it's contagious. So that comes on us too. Another reason to protect ourselves and to be there for our colleagues as well. But we have to make sure we're taking care of ourselves, because we work in this high risk profession, and the literature suggests, up to 60% of our colleagues are in emotional distress. So we have these steps. I like to call them prime, align, design, just like that beautiful lotus flower. And we have choices, right? We can stay the same, or we can make some changes. Change takes energy though, and it takes planning, and we can do that. We're doing that. We have access to that, where we can meet together and do this in my program called Rebalance. All right, well, maybe I'll stop recording. Well, thank you for your attention.